I give you what you need. Yeah. I could be your everything. Your everything. Love all you bring. You're everything. You can be my everything.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another rendition of the Oliver Happy Hour, coming to you live from the east side of South Central Los Angeles. We join you here on a warm summer day here in July. It feels like it's hotter than other Julys. Right now, I'm joined here with my illustrious sisters, Debbie Dev.
In the building. Debbie
Well-
Dev here in the building, guys.
My bad. That was a little mistake here. A little rusty. Daisy O.
Daisy O, always ready for the show.
And we have a returning champ, our guest here today, Mary Jane.
Mary Jane!
That's what
We
they
love
call me.
it just the same. Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Yeah, so thank you once again for joining us today as our guest. So today we're actually going to be talking about a very serious topic today. We are going to be talking about sex trafficking or human trafficking. And this is just a topic that, we had in our topic bank that we were just like, hey, we got to talk about it. We've never formally talked about the topic here on the podcast. And Mary is just so happened to be here in our midst and, is better versed than us. So we're just going to have a real open conversation just about what happens or even just about what we see going on and just talk about statistics, and what the work looks like, especially for direct service workers who are providing the needed resources for those survivors of trafficking, and then like what we can do. But I guess just to get started, since I want to just start off with piquing our own brain, like just taking a peek at where we are at. What does it mean to you when you hear the word human or sex trafficking?
Well, I'll start. I mean, it just means someone is either taken or lured or convinced into a lifestyle that they did not choose for themselves, that where they are required to do things that are against their will. It means that they are in danger of, it means that they're in danger. They're not safe. And that to me, just, it can look like a lot of different things in different spaces, but definitely a place where like people are taken against their will.
Okay.
I would
Devin?
agree. The same. People are young people who are taken against their will, and not even young. I would say older people as well. That people that are vulnerable, that are in areas where they're not being aware of their surroundings, maybe, and just abducted, taken away from their loved ones, and being sexually offended. And yeah, I would say, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I guess for me, when I hear sex trafficking, I think of, like someone being, like it's a coercion that's going on. It's someone being held against their will, or someone lured, trapped, that there's like no way out or no escape, or just, just coming in, being, preyed upon, or being naive, or really being in a position where you needed a particular resource, or you needed to get somewhere, or, like you needed to either go somewhere or get something that, you end up becoming trapped. Yeah, I mean, that's what I think in terms of that. I think sex trafficking is, because of that coercion, is different from other types of sex work. I think, which I think is important to try to, well, for me, like what I try to separate, from. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what I think. Oh, Mary, now what
Why,
would you?
hello. Well, I agree with everyone. I want to highlight too that human trafficking is composed of two parts, not just sex trafficking, but labor trafficking as well. And the number of people that are in human trafficking in general right now is upwards of 8 billion people,
Wow.
My gosh.
half of which are children. And of those children, they're primarily foster youth. And that's where I get to be a component of the conversation because everyone I work with is a foster youth, but the population that I'm really passionate about is working with CSEC or commercially and sexually exploited young people. It's a huge industry, and it is modern day slavery without people recognizing that it's happening all around us. And to populations that are primarily young women, children enter sex trafficking primarily between the ages of 12 and 14. That is really young.
Wow.
Yes.
So young. And the places in which they're picking up young people, it's on the streets, right? Catcalling and, to your point, coercion and manipulation. But for not just young adults, not just children, but young adults, the other primary means are through social media. So through even as much as we use Instagram and TikTok, like that's a huge space. OnlyFans, or even in public spaces, not just sidewalks, but like the primary method is at strip clubs and dance clubs and like places that people between 14 and 18 access. So anywhere that you're going to, like even a youth center and people who are hanging around those areas, preying on these young, primarily women, but men too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That is true.
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, and when you mention those things, it's just like those numbers, those statistics, which we'll go more into as well. I do think that it's astonishing. It's, it's really sad that a lot of people don't know that this is happening, that they aren't aware of
Or just oblivious to it.
or just not aware, especially the social media part where I'm like, that is a very easy trap. Remember when we were like younger, AOL,
Yes.
like
Yes.
what was it, sex, age, location,
Yes.
ASL.
Yes.
Yeah,
ASL, age, sex, location. It was, talking to you just had a little boyfriend
Yeah.
that lived in a different culture, like country, or was from a different
Different
culture,
state, yeah.
different state, and like you can just chat with them, and then mommy would come in the room or close it down, like talking to anybody. It's just, those it even
Just being curious, I think.
right, but that is
And
a
that's how
prime age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to point out just this morning I read about a situation where a girl was taken from Texas. This guy had held her at knife point and said, if you don't come with me, then I'm gonna hurt you. And then he transported her from Texas all the way to Long Beach, y'all.
Oh my God.
And we talk
Texas
about
to Long Beach out here.
Yes. And it just so happened what we were just talking about, people being oblivious and not really paying attention, but thank God somebody paid attention.
Yeah.
This guy, he went to the laundromat, and it was this lady that walked out that was the usual customer going to the laundromat. She saw the girl. I think the girl was 13, 14, and she had a sign on the window. The guy left her in the car. She had a sign on the window saying, "Help me." The lady that saw her went back inside to the owner and told her, like, I think there's a girl that needs help. She has a sign that says, "Help me." So she came out. She called the police because the guy was still inside. Called the police. Thank God the police came, got him arrested, and now the girl is with DCFS, and they're trying, because she was registered as a runaway.
Oh my gosh.
I said, Lord Jesus, thank you that lady noticed.
Was she a foster youth?
No.
Okay. She was just registered as a
Well,
runaway
you know what?
child.
I don't know. They didn't say that. I don't want to say no.
It's very common, and that's the youth that Mary works with.
If she was taken into DCFS, then she became a foster youth.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Man,
I was like, oh my gosh.
and that was just recently, like
this happened just this this week, a
Oh,
couple days
Lord.
ago.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, California is the number 1 state in the country that has sex trafficking. Number 2 is Texas. Number 3 is Florida. And if you think about it, it's because of the avenues by which people travel, either through the country or up and down the country. So California is the
Yeah.
longest state,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
all the places in which they pick up youth or undocumented people
Yeah.
is right next to highways and areas where there's like high traffic
Yeah,
for
it makes
young
sense.
people to easily be picked up, preyed upon, and transported.
Yeah.
And just go straight up to end up in like Sacramento.
Straight up to
Yeah.
Fresno is a huge hub. Long Beach is a huge hub.
That is, yeah, because the ports are right there too.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
think about what's in those shipping containers. I promise you there's
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
I would not doubt it.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It's
And
really
in this,
sad.
in this heat, it's just devastating to even, fathom or think about. But it's happening. It's happening.
And it's an industry for a reason. Globally, it's a $150 billion industry because sex sells. And people don't think about where it comes from.
Also, I heard of another situation with hotels. It's like a list of hotels, Hilton being one of them, that they have like cameras like hidden, talking about small as like a nail in like the TV or something. Like it's crazy to think about that. They prey on people in hotel rooms.
What in the world?
And then it was this video of this guy. He was in, I think, Motel 6 or something, and he had looked in the closet, and he saw like the wooden floor, like it was off, right? So he lifted it up. It looked like a whole tunnel.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh! What in
Yes.
the world?
Crazy.
Oh,
So yeah, they're going through a list of hotels are going through like a lawsuit of human sex trafficking.
Well,
Texas.
it's just human. So human trafficking, and then there's sex trafficking, right? So two. You said two different.
2 subpopulations would be
Okay.
labor or sex. So the reason Texas is part of the labor hub is because of the immigration from anywhere in Central America or Mexico, and becomes a labor issue because people come here for work, right? And then that's how they're exploited, because there's people either at the language barrier looking for work, money, shelter, and so they're preyed upon to be able to enslave them into these farms in which they're underpaid and not able to leave, and it becomes enslavement. And perhaps that could become sex trafficking as well. I'm not as
Yeah.
well versed in the labor side, but labor for undocumented people is primarily as a means of slavery.
Ugh.
well, when I was in college, my first year, I wrote a paper on modern day slavery, and it was about human trafficking. I hadn't even began to even explore sex trafficking at that time, but my paper, like my English paper, we were reading Fast Food Nation, and I was like, there's so many connections to modern day slavery. So I wrote about this, and I talked about slavery, the history of slavery, how it's connected. My English teacher asked me to like read some excerpts mind you, she didn't tell me like beforehand. So she asked me to like, it was actually anonymous. So she took like certain excerpts from people's papers. And so when we got to mine, one of the students read it out loud, and then we had a whole discussion. And a lot of the students were like, I don't think modern slavery exists. This seems kind of like
closed-minded.
far-fetched. This seems like a lot. And afterwards, we had a whole conversation. I'm like, I'm just listening. I'm not even responding to people. And then we like edit the little sentences that she put out. So afterwards, the professor asked me like to stay back, and she was like, Daisy, I just want to say I am so proud of you. This is like a great paper. Forget about what your peers say. Like, this is fantastic. This is an excellent paper. Like, the fact that you're even critically thinking about these things shows me that you're a great writer. So we had this discussion, but that just goes to show you all of these essentially white kids in your class have no idea what's actually happening in the world. And I'm like, wow, thank you so much for that affirmation. Because I
Right.
was like, dang, they really like tore this little concept apart. But I knew that it was true for me. So Like, it's actually one of the papers that I still have to this day. And the
Oh.
fact that I wrote it in like 2003.
Ooh,
or
20 years ago.
2004.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wrote
that's-
this paper in 2003 talking about modern day slavery.
Be proud.
I mean,
Man.
I mean, wonderful
That's crazy,
paper,
yes.
Daisy. You know, but yeah, I mean, but to think that conditions have likely worsened since then, and become
Yes.
because of the internet and things like
and
that.
been
Things
more
have,
strategic.
yeah, things have just gotten more ingrained in everything, and especially in preying upon people. Because I am concerned, you know, even for you know, our nieces and nephew
Mm-hmm.
and people who
Trust.
are on Instagram more of the day. Because look, I mean, yeah, people would say it. I mean, I know baby boomers and stuff would be like, "Oh, we used to play stickball and stuff in the middle of the street or whatever," you know.
Yeah.
And I know for us, we had the internet,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, we also played outside. We played sports. You know,
Right.
we did baseball. You guys did
got the best of
cheerleading and
both
stuff
worlds.
like that. You
Mhm.
guys did stuff, and you know, there was the box and MTV and BET and Comic View and all kinds of stuff to watch. But now it's like all, you know,
TikTok, readily accessible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
or people just reaching out to you on Instagram, DMing you.
Yep.
Mhm.
On Facebook, DMing
Yeah.
you.
Easy
Little kids aren't on
access.
Facebook, but a lot of them are on Instagram still, or on TikTok. and-
Listen, it happens on LinkedIn.
Mm.
I
Are you
get hit up.
kidding me?
I'm not joking. I get hit
What?
up all the time. Just recently, some guy, like Asian dude, is like, oh, I'm just here to network, but what are you here for? And I'm like, like I
Block.
accepted you because you look like you're living Hawthorne. You look like you work for SpaceX. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
That's so
okay,
weird.
which is like, I normally just like accept people, but when they start doing some
Weird stuff.
I'm like, you're blocked now
Blocked.
because I don't even want to have a conversation with you. It would be different if you were like, hey, I know somebody who like we went to UCLA together, which is often the case. They'll be like, hey, you know, I just moved to LA. I see that you're doing great things in higher ed, or you know, I just want to connect with people that went to UCLA or USC. I often accept those, but when it's like kind of weird like that, I'm just like, it's
Like,
happening
yeah,
on
no,
LinkedIn, which is a
that's
professional
crazy.
networking place.
Yeah.
And that's why it's an important piece to teach young people is what are the signs and red flags for
Yeah.
when someone reaches out and tries to befriend you. If it's not for, first of all, you need to have a second point of contact. Do I have anybody else know this
Yes.
person?
Yeah.
Right.
What kind of questions are they asking? Are they
Yeah.
looking for money? Are they, especially, are they grooming you to send you gifts?
Yeah.
If they want
Right.
your information or your Cash App or whatever to send you gifts, that is a red flag that
Yes.
it's connected to something that is trafficking.
Yeah.
But young people don't know that. They're out here trying to make friends. That's how people make friends, especially
Yes.
after the pandemic and in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it might not be a red flag to them because it's a norm to make
Yeah.
friends
Mhm.
online without knowing that they're being preyed upon because of their age, of their naivety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
And that's
true.
very common. It happens. I mean, it's very common. Yeah.
Oh, it's scary. I know I just had the conversation with our nieces
Mhm.
about, you know, being aware of your surroundings. If you feel in your gut that, you know, this person is not
Mm-hmm.
not right, or, you know, they could be dangerous, then go with your gut. And
Right.
you know, just be aware of your surroundings. Look ahead of you, look behind, look to the right, look to the left. Like, just be aware.
Yeah.
Because I told them about human trafficking and sex
Yeah.
sex trafficking. I even told them about the situation at the hotels and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, it is real out here.
Mm-hmm.
And online as well, because they are on Instagram and on TikTok. And I know the two oldest right now,
Mm-hmm.
15 and 14, they're, you know, talking to boys online and stuff. And of course, they're curious, but I know that they're aware, so they kind of question a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I just be worried about them. Like,
I
just
mean,
be careful.
And you have to be vigilant. I think me and Mary had this
Yes.
conversation recently. She was like, where did you learn to be vigilant?
Mm-hmm.
Or where did you learn to just be aware of your surroundings? I was like, first of all, my dad just was very
Overprotecting.
super protective. He has 4 girls, you know, and a boy, of course, but most importantly, he grew up in South Central LA, him and Auntie Wendy. So it was them those two
yes.
specifically
Yes.
that were just always like, you guys keep your head on a swivel, make sure
Mhm.
you know your surroundings, almost to the point where it's like a little overbearing.
Overt.
It's a little
we thought they
overbearing.
very overbearing or just
we
very
definitely
Paranoid.
right.
Yes.
It,
To
no,
the
it
point
is.
of
It is a no.
paranoia.
You know, it is a low level paranoia,
Yes.
just
Yes.
as general, because you know.
Yeah, very paranoid.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like there is actually truth behind
Yes,
that
very
as well.
much so.
Because of what they've heard and what they've seen,
Yes.
you know, happen around them is why they are vigilant.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know?
exactly. So there's, and I told Mary, we were talking about this. I was like, I've had to try to find a balance where I'm like, okay, I know I know I feel safe. I know my surroundings,
Mhm.
but I'm just not ultra like paranoid about it. I'm still working through that because sometimes I'd be like, I don't trust him.
No, for
Who are you
real.
talking to? Like, you don't need to talk to him. Like, this don't make no sense. And
Yes.
Mary's like, but he was just asking me a question, like in the store. And I'm
No,
like,
for real. And I feel like I pray for discernment with
yeah.
dealing with people because I feel like I get a vibe with people. If I feel like you're safe to be around, okay, cool. But if I feel like I gotta question some things about
Yeah.
what you're doing,
Mhm.
it's like, all right, I got my taser. All right, I have it handy.
No, I mean self-defense, like not martial arts, but you could. But self-defense classes are so important. I took like a couple while I was at UCLA because they were free, like part of the gym. But self-defense classes really absolutely can help you learn just some very basic techniques of like how to get out of, physical situations. If you're ever in a physical situation, just knowing how to use your body to protect yourself. I mean, I told you guys about that time when we were in Walmart and like one of our nieces was walking around and she said, I want to walk around and look at the bikes on this side. And I said, okay, go ahead and go around. She was like probably like maybe 12 or something at the time. And so she's like looking at the bike, super excited, but we're always watching, right? But I'm watching her. So like I'm like walking, like looking like I'm not looking at her or whatever. This dude comes around the corner and he's just like staring at her, like looking, but he's pretending like he's looking at the bikes too. And he gets a little bit closer to her, a little bit closer until he's probably about maybe about like maybe about 5 or 6 steps away from her, but close enough to the point where I'm like, okay,
That's too close for comfort.
that's that discernment. So I
Yes.
walk over there and I stand next to her and I look at him.
Like,
And
I
he's
see
just
you.
like, then he kind of like backs up a little bit, and I take our niece and I go around the corner, and then he looks like he wants to follow us until I turn around and look at him, and I'm looking at his face, memorizing it. I still know what he looks like today. I can describe him to you. I could describe him. Like height and everything, color of the skin, his eyes, everything. And he looks at me and then he's just like, he backs away and he turns around and he leaves. That's the
See?
kind of stuff where I'm like,
Yes.
it's the discernment. Because I'm like, if he was trying to look at a bike, I wouldn't have been concerned. But it's
Right,
the
but-
closeness
Yeah.
of where he got to our
Like
niece.
inching his way closer and closer. Like, wait a minute, no.
Uh-uh.
Sir.
And I know your nieces can be aware of their surroundings because I had a conversation with them and they were being catcalled at our wedding anniversary outside the venue. They were coming after the girls. They told me this the other day. And so I asked them, well, what would you say? Half the girls were like, I would run. The other half was trying to use nice language for, hello, sir, please don't look at me like that. Which leads me to my other thought about like knowing your environment is great, but part of the reason they prey on young people is because of the naivety that you have of making connections and also people with low self-esteem. Not saying that the nieces are struggling with self-worth, but that is one of the ways in which you get buy-in for I'll be your friend, I'll buy you this, do you want to go get that? So if a young person doesn't have enough self-worth to know that like I can get attention elsewhere, you're not a safe person, that speaks to needing to instill more pro-social and emotional skill building with young people. As like if we were to talk about how to respond to this, like doing more activities with young people, mentoring young people, teaching them how to stand up for themselves in a physical way, but also knowing like this is how I know how to respect my body and how other people should as well. And I deserve to be treated well. I don't need attention from strangers or from passerbys, or I don't need gifts from anyone else. And for even undocumented people or people who are looking for work, if I'm down and out and you can get me some money, I might jump on that. But in what way is this going to serve me in the long run? Is it going to give me a quick fix so I can get food, or is this going to be something that I can do safely in the long term? That's not easy to teach, but it speaks to like training programs for young people and undocumented people in our country that can live the quote unquote dream that I don't know if that exists. I don't think it does. But regardless, to be able to do it in a safe way because people are using the weakest link to build the industry.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff. That's good. That's good info.
No, I think it has to start with us with education and making sure that people know and people can, stay safe out there, or watch out for warning signs or just warnings at all. But wow.
Could I offer 2 more resources that are telephone numbers? So you can report suspected human trafficking, whether it be labor or sex, at 1-866-347-2423. But if you are a person who's experiencing trafficking, then you can text or call. And if you called 1-888-373-7888, you can say, I need help, or you can just text the word help to 233-733. And that's an opportunity for you. You sometimes might not be able to have access to a phone, and that's rough. But in this situation where you do have access, maybe you can't talk out loud. You could text. And it's also posted in every single airport now. On the back of bathroom doors in the women's room. Anyway, I don't know about the men's.
That's good.
On every single stall, though, that information is posted because people are flying people nationally and internationally for the purpose of trafficking. So just wanted to offer that.
Oh man.
That's
Wow. I mean, but so great to have you here, Mary, to help us with this conversation and to share those resources, those tips.
Of course.
Yeah, because it is something that is real. Yeah. So, well, any of you all's thoughts? I mean, were there any other instances that resonated with you all, or warning signs, or things?
Well, I did want to kind of go into the definitions of those two, because
Sure.
we did talk about our definitions and what we think, but the definition of human trafficking, according to Google, is the unlawful act of transporting or coercing people in order to benefit from their work or service, typically in the form of forced labor or sexual exploitation. And that leads to the definition of sex trafficking, the action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation. So we were definitely we're aware of those things. Maybe we didn't say these things in the exact terminology, but it's
We're pretty close.
we're very close. We were very, very close. In the recent incident in Alabama with the abduction of Carlee Russell, I think that's what prompted us to talk about this. But now there's some new news that's coming up about it, where we suspect she's schizophrenic and maybe came up with that situation or planned it. But just in general, like how that whole situation came about. Devin, do you want to kind of share?
Well, I know the FBI have reported that they, went down a timeline of everything, like of her schedule. They said that after she was abducted, she had went to Target and purchased some Cheez-Its because she had said that her abductor was feeding her Cheez-Its all weekend.
Okay.
And then prior to that, like the morning of the abduction, she was searching on the internet, on Google or whatever, or what was it? It was, does it cost for an Amber Alert? Is it, is it a fee for an Amber Alert? How to take money out of a register without getting caught. It was another one. oh my God, I can't think of the other. It was 2 other searches that she looked up, but uh,
Okay, I take that back about her being schizophrenic.
How did she? Well, how did she say she was abducted though? Like, what was the situation?
well, they said that she when she, she said that basically, somebody took her, and they had it was a man and a woman
Mm-hmm.
that took her. I think they said that she was put in a trunk and then left in a room, and like she said that they didn't like physically hurt her.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But
but
how
her
did
her
they?
story wasn't. It just
Right.
wasn't adding up.
I'm trying to get to how did
Yeah.
we get here? Because she said that it was a child on the street
Right.
that was walking on the freeway by themselves.
Right.
And then she called 911, or she called her family. She pulled over.
And they had they shared the recording, the 911
Mhm.
call, and she just said that the child was walking with just a shirt on and a diaper.
Mhm.
The child looked about 3 or 4, because she was describing the child to the 911 operator, and the operator just said that the police are on their way. Stay with the child, and she said okay and hung up. And then according to the story, according to what happened after that, she said that, or it was reported that she called her sister,
Mhm.
either sister-in-law or sister, and then the sister said that all she heard was her scream, and then her phone dropped, and then
Mhm.
she heard the freeway, just
Okay.
and that was that.
And then that's how it was like a missing person
Yes.
report. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's how it became like national news.
And then they said when she arrived to the house that she didn't have anything, and she had some money in her
Sock.
in her sock.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like,
yeah, but she looked disheveled and
yeah.
right.
Like she said she found her way back home. We didn't know if she was
What?
dropped off or if she was on foot or what.
But she basically fought for her life. That's what
And
they
they
were saying.
said she was fighting for her life.
Yeah. Why don't you think she was schizophrenic, Darren?
Well, I don't know. Well, after, when you guys finished the story, I was like, well, maybe. Because you were saying that she had looked up, like, is there a cost for an Amber Alert? Like,
Yeah.
Like, what is that about?
I don't know. Like,
I
if
have
she's
no clue.
actively psychotic, I'm sure she could think and imagine like people are there and stuff, and that could explain the coming back disheveled. I found my way back home.
Yeah.
I don't know if it explains like her like looking beforehand. Is there a cost to an Amber Alert before she calls somebody saying that she saw all this stuff?
Right.
And she Googled all this prior to being kidnapped?
Like they said it was like between 1:30 and 2:30 in the morning.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to normalize that like trauma causes confusion, right? So misalignment in your story is normal for trauma. But, and then these red flags sound really normal. But
Yeah,
it's confusing if
right.
you like prepare for a kidnapping.
Yeah.
What?
That's where I'm like,
and that's
huh.
where I'm
Interesting.
like, your browsing history, you know that they can find that. Even if it's private or if you delete it, they can actually still find your browsing history. So
I don't
we leave a
understand
trace.
why.
We leave a trace of our digital
right, because of our
footprints.
IP address and like the things that are
Yes.
connected. I don't think people really
Understand.
And I mean, say that she did not lie about this, and it's like maybe it's her confusion and like all these different factors that come into play. The fact that like she had to go through this, or even the story in itself is alarming, but say that she did actually lie about it, it infuriates me to my core because I'm like, girl, one, you a black woman, and this is happening to black people, like people of color primarily.
Yes.
Primarily
that
people
actually happens.
People that are still missing.
Primarily people of color. And I'm just like, girl, what are you doing?
Maybe she wanted to see if people would, act, maybe, I don't know.
We don't know.
Feel bad for her or
Yeah,
get
maybe
some kind of attention.
Exactly. Maybe I'm thinking, maybe she was
Yeah, sounds like a cry
just
for
like, okay,
attention, sure.
I wonder if I'm lost, or if I say that I was abducted. I wonder, if this would become national news. Maybe she didn't think it
Maybe
was.
she
I
didn't think
don't
it would be
know.
even that big. Maybe she just wanted somebody to care. In her
Maybe.
family, she wanted her sister to care. Like, maybe if I'll be gone. Now that's really what is interesting to ask is ask the sister like, what was going on with y'all
Mhm.
before all this stuff went down?
Mhm.
Did you guys call her stupid or something like that, or just say mean things to her,
Right.
or you know?
And the parents, they kept saying we can't really discuss, the details right now.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this was before we all found out that it was a hoax. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah,
She's probably done that
so
before. I mean, but you have some people who do kind of like attention-seeking things. I don't know if this is the case for her or
this was
not.
really extreme because she had everybody, the FBI, Texas, the Texas Police Department, everybody. It was national news. Like,
Yeah. I mean, and that, because, okay, so that is an example of like abduction, and perhaps, she got out of the situation, or perhaps she planned it. But I did want to talk about, because Mary kind of tapped into this a little bit, the types of exploitation. So you have like sex slavery, you have prostitution, pornography, child sex rings, nude dancing and modeling. Like, those
Oh,
are definitely things. Forced
because they
prostitution.
want like child like kitty porn,
child
Yeah.
child
pornography. Yes.
pornography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it creates, all of these STIs, STDs that are spread
Oh my
Mhm.
god.
not only in America but also in different
Well, yeah,
countries like
yeah.
Ghana, India, Nepal. Like,
No, yeah.
It's
these are
so
definitely
sad.
No,
other things.
I know it happened. Well, yeah, because I remember even hearing just different cases, just from I'm a social worker, and we're coming across families or why some kids are 3-year-olds having STD. I mean an STI.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
And it's just like, oh my, like
Yeah.
Why?
It's
Why?
just,
Why?
I'm
Why?
like literally sick to my stomach.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
it's
just
so
it is just
sad.
like, oh my god, like just.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
pedophilia is real,
real.
all over the world. I remember I did a report on pedophilia when I was getting my MSW.
Mhm.
I always liked to do stuff that everybody else wasn't doing, right? I always
Mhm.
wanted to be a trailblazer and stuff,
Yeah.
and I was like, nobody else. I was late to it. No one wasn't paying attention. Everybody, then I'm like, shit, what's left here in the DSM because it was like, you got to do all the ones in the DSM. Everybody has to pick a topic, and I was like, you know what? I'll pick pedophilia.
Mhm.
That's a challenge.
Mhm.
A
Well,
huge
when I
challenge.
tell you, I remember like what some of the sources that I used is I remember Oprah did a special on, and I remember seeing it when I was like younger, like after school or whatever. And so I remembered it, and I was able to find a clip of like she was talking to the pedophiles,
Mhm.
and it was like she was talking to two men, and then it was like a woman, and just even researching just about it. And there's really not much research on pedophilia because many of those people are in jail. But I think there does need to be funding that goes towards research, so that we can be preventive. Instead of having to really fight them after they've already done harm and are out there thinking that they can't get caught. Like we need to prevent young men, especially, but people just in general from becoming pedophiles and preying upon young kids. Because a lot of what the research that I had found was some of it was just basically like a pedophile is someone who, when they were a child, they had unmet needs in some kind of way, and them going through this is by them somehow thinking that their needs are going to get met or trying to address those unmet needs. But yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be preventive work out there.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Also, when I was in my MSW program at USC, that was the one population that I said I could never work with them. I could
No,
never,
that is,
and that was
no,
the one, and that's
valid.
probably why the research is so like nil, is because many people are like, I don't want to work with these people. But yes, you're
Well,
right,
yeah,
Darren.
and,
We do.
And also, I mean, we are mandated reporters, so it's not like somebody can. It's not like somebody can just be like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this stuff," and they could go out. It'll be like, before you go,
I gotta
you
call
know
the
we gotta
cops.
talk about something.
Right.
Hold on.
Right. The cops are. I gotta call the cops right now. Yeah.
Like, I'm disgusted with you, sir. I would take my shoe and hit you upside the head if I could. But,
because that was one of the questions. Like, is there that this was a whole topic of conversation, and I think like one of my classes, maybe it was like diagnosing or something like that, the clinical side. But I was just like, I can't. No, that's the one population that I just can't do it, and I know that about myself because I know that about myself, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I can't. And that's probably how a lot of people feel.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And the field is just subversive in itself. Like the common thread through all of this, besides the labor subpopulation here, but pedophilia and sex trafficking, is sex itself. So why is it that we can't talk about this topic? Why is it that it's used for money and for power and control versus a regular part of what we talk about and educate about? I don't know if it would solve pedophilia, but if we have more conversation around sex, what it is, how to be safe, what pleasure is versus all the negative things about sex, then I wonder if you could shift the subculture of sex, because a lot of pedophilia and pornography, child pornography, and sex trafficking is occurring in these like dark spaces, right? It's spaces where like you only creep out at night, or you don't tell people about it. You don't talk about these things, and that's why there isn't a lot of research. There's still a huge amount of research about sex trafficking that we don't know, but it's so prevalent that now we're responding to it. It's 2020. What year is this? 2023. And within even DCFS, they just developed a sex trafficking unit a couple of years ago because there are so many foster youth that come from sex trafficking. But foster youth have always been around. So how come in 2023 is when we decided to start helping them out of sex trafficking?
Yeah.
But if it was a more normal part of conversation, education, and like part of the systemic way in which we address multiple disparities, then I bet there would be a less prevalent reason to talk about it in a negative way.
Yeah. I mean, and there are these definitely like subpopulations, like you mentioned, like forced sweatshops, restaurants, hotel work, and sex work, agriculture. Did you guys read in the news recently? Like this, it's probably like the maybe third or fourth death of a teenager in a sweatshop kind of environment, or in a
in China? That wasn't here though, huh?
No, that was actually in here. I read it
really?
on Huffington Post. Yeah, it was like the third death of a teenager in like a
manufacturing,
industrial kind of work.
But a lot of those states, I think we've talked about it before, a lot of states, they are repealing those laws to make kids work. And I don't know why we just don't have the comprehensive immigration reform to just allow people to come and get processed and get their, get their social security numbers so that they can contribute towards society like everybody else does, or like they've already have been.
Right.
But that
also
know.
Organ transplant.
Oh God, yes, that's another
Dark
one.
market.
Daisy, that's another one.
That's
oh my goodness, that's another whole episode.
That's another episode in itself. The organ
gosh.
transplant of like human trafficking.
And I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was exposed to it from a show because they were, abducting people and, what do you call it? When they put you to sleep.
Devin.
They would put you to sleep.
When they put you to sleep?
I'm like, when they put you to sleep, they would put them to sleep and sedate them. They would sedate them and take their organs.
Yeah.
Like,
and
wait,
leave them for
what?
Dead, pretty much.
And leave them for dead. Yeah.
And this was on a show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, is this really happening?
I bet,
yes,
I bet
Evan,
you
it's
that,
happening.
I bet you one of the number one ones is be like kidneys.
Yeah.
Yes.
China, and it
Taking
happens.
somebody's kidneys.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a kidney transplant.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The black market.
Yeah, China is a big place for the black market as well. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I'm glad to hear that people have more recognition that forced labor and sex trafficking and all these other things exist. And it's great that it comes up in the media. It's great that it comes up in the news. I would also encourage people to not take that for face value, like take it with a grain of salt, because all those spaces have means, like they are here to make money. And the real information is when you get into more advocacy organizations, like there's the International Labor Organization, the Department of oh my God, what's it called? DHS, not Human Services.
Health Services, Department of Health and Human Services.
DHS? Which? Yeah.
Okay, I'll come back to it.
Public.
But some other NGOs and nonprofits, there's one called lovejustice.ngo and dosomething.org, places that put together research. Again, it's great that it comes out in the media, but that's also a show in some way. So make sure that before there's all these myths or misconceptions about these things coming about, and then people create their own play in their head and become fear-based. Like, I don't want people to stop walking on the street. Like, walk to the park if you want to walk to the park, but you're not going to get snatched. But you might if you don't know X, Y, or Z.
If you're not looking
aware.
around.
Just being vigilant.
Yeah, and actually, giving, you got to, teach kids
how to defend
themselves.
Or run track.
To
be able to run away.
How to run, how to describe their body parts at a young age, as well as, give them some pepper spray or something that they're going to be walking around.
Yes, pepper spray, a little taser, because definitely, I know if I'm going to they always say, I know, our cousin Tiffany, she's always like sending us things about being safe and stuff. And not going to the gas station at
Even
night.
pumping your gas.
Pumping your gas, right? Our cousin just let us know, like, be careful going to the gas station because people are, stealing your car and stealing your purse or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you just gotta stuff the gas and it's night time, So I know one thing that I do. I will take out my taser. I'll have it in my hand while I'm pumping the gas. And just looking around. Because I know I've been at a gas station where it was barely any cars and I'm just looking around like.
Right.
If anybody, yes, okay, just.
One thing.
With that.
Yeah.
You don't light yourself on
I
fire,
was going to
too.
say Devin.
Not next to the.
Not next to y'all. I'm doing it safely, okay?
Be at the front of the car.
I was like, and then the station called on for, and 9 o'clock news tonight. The Arkham set on fire.
No, I'm not.
Strut around the car.
Yes, not like literally doing it. I'm not doing it out loud. Like, I'm being safe, okay?
Don't fuck with me.
Oh God.
But I usually like have it handy, because
it's smart to be aware.
Yeah.
I mean,
also, it was the Department of Homeland Security.
Department of Homeland Security.
Yes, honey.
Yes.
You remember that Department of Homeland Security,
Yes.
and they're the main ones right now that are like doing a lot of those efforts of prevention and intervention and. Just like responding to those things. But
that's good. I'm glad that they're,
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
all right,
y'all.
That was a good conversation.
Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for us just being willing to talk about this topic today. I think we'll end with our Proverbs. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path.
Have a good one. God bless. Do your research, y'all.
Yes.
So vigilant.
Thanks, Mary Jane.
Thank you, honey.
And what about me? I believe in fate. They want to know where I'll be in 5.